All right, welcome back everybody to AI Data Mastery, where we explore how AI and data are reshaping B2B businesses. Quick thanks to our couple sponsors, Data Accelerator and Evolve with AI. We appreciate you being here and keeping the lights on for us. I'm your host, Jason Renno, and today we're joined by Jerry Covington, Operations Manager at TagUp. Now, I'm excited about this one because this is a company providing tags, nameplates, branding solutions to sports teams, schools, and organizations across the US. Jerry brings a unique operational and system perspective from the product to organization side of B2B selling. So we're going to jump in and discuss how even a B2B business rooted in custom products is leveraging data, systemization, and technology to go beyond simple sales and just bring larger value to relationships and contracts. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Jerry. It's great to have you.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so let's jump right in. Can you give us the quick background on yourself, and then in TagUp? I know I mentioned it's obviously a sales. You guys provide sales, nameplates, and I don't want to mess up the introduction. You take it away. Do a quick introduction on yourself and your company.
Yep, no problem. Like Jason said, my name is Jerry Covington. I've been in the area for since 1996, roughly, and I have a background in IT. I've done a lot of that self-taught, and I live in the rural area of Minnesota with my wife, and my 5 kids are here. And so what we have been doing since I've been here for TagUp is which has also been around since 1996. We've been just interfacing with all the colleges, NFL teams, NBA teams, just professional sports, and we provide for them the opportunity to look great. Everybody wants to look great but mostly where you see us, and you won't see us out in the sidelines, you won't see us in the stands, you'll see us in the locker room. So when the players come out off the game, when they're done with the game, they'll go in the locker rooms, they'll see all the work that we do. So, but I've been working for TagUp since 2018. I came on board with the distinctive responsibility that's just to move the culture forward and make it embrace more technology on the front side, but also make that impact the user as well, because we have numbers of users all over the world, and they come with the understanding that since we are a marketing organization and we also manufacture things in-house, their expectation is that we're going to be cutting edge. So in order for us to sell that or to make that apparent on the outside, we have to fix everything in the back end so that we are also cutting edge internally and also moving our organization forward in a way so we can embrace what is coming next for the future. So that's kind of how we are positioning ourselves so that we can continue to provide the service that we need to for our customers, but also recreating, not just recreating the idea of bag tags and locker nameplates, because by themselves they're not sexy, but
but necessary.
But if you put the right name on there, like you Justin Jefferson or
Saquon Barkley or somebody,
Saquon Barkley. Now that locker nameplate is sexy to anybody who wants to buy it or take it and send it to someone else. That's what we have to maintain our presence in that space.
Very cool. And then so let's jump in here, because I know we were talking about, well, one, kudos to yourself and the leadership team there for embracing change and knowing that a paradigm shift has to happen where, yes, you're selling, let's just say nameplates, for example. It might not be sexy, but it can be. And then it's not, what's sexy is getting a good quality nameplate, a product delivered when it's supposed to be, where it's supposed to be. Like, sometimes the sexiness comes in like the little details that nobody recognizes, but just right. Sometimes sexy is just doing what you say you're going to do and delivering a product that you promised up front, right?
Yes. You under promise, over deliver, and that has been like the hallmark of selling anything. I can't tell you how many times when you go into any place that you can think of, and they will tell you, oh, it does this, it wines, it dines, it juliennes, and then you get home and it's just a knife.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, damn, I still got to chop, it's not going to chop it for me. So to your point, it's, we're talking about in the pre-show, we talked a little bit about like B2B sales and referrals, and what you had brought up where, some, obviously every B2B business is differently, but with yours, that relationship, that referral, that over delivery of what you promise is so important because your target audience is so finite. And you had talked about, an equipment manager where, an equipment manager for the Philadelphia Eagles could be very good friends, or maybe used to work for the New York Giants or the Minnesota Vikings. And like, you piss off the Eagles, like you're done in the NFL, because ain't no equipment manager is going to trust you after that. Right. So
that's
talk a little
absolutely
bit
right.
more about how that works.
So like the equipment manager discipline it's very small. So one of the most infamous equipment managers in Minnesota is Dennis Ryan. He works for he used to work for the Vikings, Minnesota Vikings, and just a real humble, down to earth guy. Now I've never met him in person, but on the phone that comes across. And so when it's just a genuineness. And so I said, okay, so what can I take away from this interaction with this, amazing person is that being genuine about what you're doing. Okay, so because of that genuine approach, if you make a mistake in New York, we're in the Yankees stadium there, and and Ryan out there, very demanding, very specific. He knows exactly what he wants, and he's the equipment manager out there. He does a great job, phenomenal job for just the minor league and the major leagues out there. But if we make a mistake in New York, at 8 o'clock in the morning when you get something at FedEx, by 12 o'clock in California, the Dodgers, they'll know about it because they're closely knit.
Yeah,
And so
it's just that incestual type of business, correct?
yes, and so it's like if you do a great job, same thing. And then, as you said, when we have the special case where we will have someone who maybe come from Mississippi State University. They're working for the Bulldogs, and then they get a promotion to go up to another professional league, and so they're there. And because we treated them well at MSU, they're gonna bring us over to the next organization. And so that is how most of the business has grown. Well, yeah, there was a lot of hands-on approach where we had two salesmen who would go out and they would talk to all the equipment managers. They go to the shows. They interface with people on a level where it was very personable. And the two salespeople are Chris and Kirk. They're the former owners' sons, and the way they tell stories and the way they remember like who you are, like they'll remember something about you when you're in a hockey rink over in Wisconsin, and be like, oh yeah, you remember this time when, and then that's a relatable story that now you can translate to when you're in like Philadelphia, or if you're in Delaware and you're at a hockey event and you meet some other people and they say, I didn't know that, and you connect those two things and then those two people, and now you have a synergistic relationship where now you can expand your ability to sell. And I'm moving a little bit too much. I'm getting blurry.
Yeah, no, you're good. Don't worry about it. Most people are probably going to listen versus watch it anyway. But so when you say that synergistic relationship, you're creating that synergistic relationship, but having those relatable stories and quote unquote like name dropping. But I don't know. I don't want it to sound negative, but name dropping or referencing people that know each other. I mean, it sounds. They say what is there? If there's 7 degrees of separation in the world, there's probably about a 1.5 degree of separation in the equipment manager space. So it's that instant, what I like to call it, it's that ability to build that instant trust and credibility. Yes. Where if you say, hey, I've worked with this guy at this organization, and this guy's known to be a stand-up guy and run a super tight equipment, equipment shop or whatever you want to call it. They're like, well, damn, if you impress that guy, you must be, worth your weight, or at least it must be worth the opportunity it'd be worth it to give you the opportunity to give their business. And I feel like that's that's really important, is how can I, as a B2B business, professional, how can I increase my level of trust and credibility as fast as possible? And to your point, doing a good job, having references, having that good referral network that you could name drop and reference and give out, speaks folds. It's going to be way better than any ad you can see online or any type of other generic marketing, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Because how you make people feel when you serve them, they're going to remember that. It's like the same thing that, like we were talking about earlier, is when you go someplace and you create a memory, you create an experience with folks. They're going to remember that memory like forever if it's impactful, or they'll retell it. They'll retell it like it just happened yesterday. So that's powerful in the way that we can connect like that. And so where I think AI has a good and decent marriage with that is, so oftentimes, like family members, we can move off to different parts of the country, and then you pick the phone up and you can pick up where you left off the last time, right? Well, when you have a customer, they want like some continual conversation. They want some continual relationship somehow, some way. Now, most people may say, "Oh, I got the email from you. Yeah, that was okay. I didn't really want to say." But if you never heard from them, or if they never heard from you, they're just like, well, why are you reaching out to me now when it's time for my sport to start up? You didn't even talk to me all year long.
Yeah. What happened to the other 8 months of the year?
Yeah, whatever. And so we're just trying to bridge that gap and say, okay, we need to be intentional, not beyond the CRM stuff. It's like we need to be intentional about interfacing with our customer in a way that they understand that we're still thinking about you, not just when it's the 1st of July or the day after the 4th of July, where everybody gets their budget, and now we're just kind of, oh, hey, would you like to order? No, we're thinking about you all year long, but we got to be able to convey that very easily and simply just by the interaction that we're doing. Okay, so then on the other side of that, when we do things wrong, because we do get things wrong, because we're business and we're humans.
Yeah, I was going to say, you have humans involved.
Yes, anytime you have humans involved, you're going to do something wrong. Either you're going to say the wrong thing, or you're going to do the wrong thing, or you're going to provide something that it was unexpected. So in that respect, I try to teach our customer service people, just own the mistake, because there's nothing we can do about it beyond the mistake is already out there. We already sent the wrong thing to someone, so just own it. So where I'm hoping that we can also use some AI pieces is on the quality control, within printing things, because we got these really expensive machines that we have to use, and they can't do it all. They can't print properly, and print correctly, and then spell check. They can't do all the things. As much as we would like them to do that, there has to be some human involvement in that process. So if we could add an AI piece there, in the form of like the cameras that can recognize things that are off, that doesn't match the original proof, and they do have things like that, and we are working in a way so that we can get some of those implemented. But if we can put that in place sooner than later, I think we could catch a lot of the spelling errors that we have, or you may not be able to correct or catch the incorrect name.
I was going to say, spelling every name correctly, that just
Yeah.
sounds like a headache in itself.
Well, because there's so many ways to spell the name Megan.
I was thinking of more of like the unique names that are 15, 16 letters deep, but Ryan, right? I mean, now
Ryan.
There's 14 different ways to spell an Aiden or a Ryan or a Brian. It's like, is it an I or an A? Or honestly, I didn't even think about all those variables when it comes to nameplates and name tags.
Yep.
And that's your bread and butter. Like, okay, if you spell Minnesota Vikings wrong, that's your bad. But if you misspell a name, then there's got to be a little room for error, right?
Well, if you spell college or university wrong, then we probably have to move you out to another place.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we do.
You misspell Saquon. I mean, I know how to spell it because I've seen it enough on the screen. But it's, yeah, I mean, that might be a little more forgivable, I guess, is what we're saying.
No, but yeah, we do, like, and again, like, we do make mistakes, but it's just like, let's it's like the next play in a football game. Let's not get hung up on the last play. Let's not get hung up on the last mistake. Let's fix it, and try to make sure that it doesn't happen again. But if it does happen again, well, that's a higher level system issue. So then we need to go a little bit higher than where you are and fix something above you or beyond you or around you and give you the proper tools. So, and automatic, okay, first off, when I say spelling mistakes, people go right to, well, why aren't you using Grammarly? Well, as you alluded to, you can't use Grammarly to autocorrect the uniquely spelled names or names that are 15 characters long, because we do have those. Or when a coach may inadvertently send you a roster that has a person who's not on the team anymore, because that beautiful portal that we have allows you to move around. So it's things like that. When you get into the space of the mindset, and you've been doing it for a very long time, you start to say, well, there's a pattern here, and what can we use in order to fix the pattern? And sometimes it's not always like an automated system. Sometimes it's just attention to detail. Sometimes it's, let's take this out of the hands of a human and give it to something automated so that we can not have to worry about that issue anymore. Because every issue in this industry, they add up to dollars spent, and you can't get them back necessarily.
Yeah, and seeing what's capable, because I mean, AI is just blowing my mind on a daily basis, but seeing what's capable, there's got to be a way where you to upload a list of names and say, hey, check, this is a NFL roster, this is an XYZ roster, go check, public databases, go search the internet, go confirm, do you find any variations of the spelling for this particular person, and then come back and have a human being, rather than having a human being check 16 names, AI can check 16 names in a second. And then if there's any variation, then that human just has to come and double check that one variation, not all 16 names. And I mean, if it doesn't exist, I'm sure it can be built, or it can't exist in I'm sure, the near future.
So
but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm interested in. It's funny you say that, because I was just writing down AI ideas. I've kind of sort of built some things in Python. I didn't tell you this before, but built a few things in Python, and I've messed around in Jason, just so I can see how AI works in the back end and what the commands are. Because the more you know, the more you know what you want.
Yeah,
So
because the more you can make that educated decision, you're like, hey, I don't want to build the AI stuff myself, but I need to know if I'm being bullshitted by the person building it, right?
right, and then I need to know, okay, it took you like a day and a half to build this, and now you're charging me for 15 days. I mean, come on, let's be real about this.
Yeah,
But then you put yourself in a situation where you're negotiating on level field. You're not at a disadvantage, because I can't tell you how many times, like in the IT world, when you are going to sell someone something, and because they don't know about it, you could take the opportunity to take advantage of them, which just creates a horrible taste in their mouth. And you probably never do business with that person again, because the thing is, they'll learn what the difference is about what you're offering them and what else is out there. So so because of that, just be completely transparent and say, hey, you know what? You could probably go out here and find someone who could build a system for you for, like, 5 hours, and you pay them the money, and it's built. Or you can go with person B, who will just give you something off the shelf. They've already made it, but now they want to jack up the price because they know it's a rarity. It's a skill set that no one has conquered yet. And taking advantage of that is, I mean, we can talk about ethics and morals, but
yeah.
it's the same thing what I was talking about with licensing.
If you're going after quick wins and trying to just go after the quick win and not building long-term relationships, as far as I'm concerned, just stop listening to the show. It's not for you. We're going after long-term B2B relationships with recurring orders, recurring clients, and long-term clients. That's the whole goal.
Right.
If you're one of those quick winners, this isn't the show for you.
No. And so, and like, going back to the founder of TagUp, that's what he was about. He wanted a relationship with every person, and every single person he did business with. Because why? Not because it was old school. I know a lot of people say, well, that's kind of old school. No, it is the school. It's the school you should live in. It's because if you're not forming a relationship with people, it's transactional. There's nothing to it. If you lost them, then you'll be trying to replace them with 5 other people who are doing the same thing for you. Well, are those people going to come to your funeral? No, they're not going to come to your funeral, because they're going to be like, that guy, he cheated me out of XYZ. You want them to say respectable things about you, yes, but it's the reputation of your business is what you're gambling with when you do things like that. But he was always personable, and he was black and white. If he didn't like it, he just said he didn't like it. And that type of transparency is missing somehow in some places, not everywhere. You if you look close enough, you'll see it, but you got to peel back a couple of layers in order to get to it. And I want to be able to interact with a company that says, hey, this is who we are first, because we recognize we're dealing with people, and we're not just dealing with numbers, and not just like the bottom line, or we're not worried about padding the relationship with a bunch of fluff. No, this is real. I'm really concerned about like where you're going. I really want to know like what high school you went to. I really want to know what the name of your coach was when you're in high school. Did you enjoy football when you were there, or did your dad make you play? You know what I mean? So things like that, they just divide you. They create this separation between the fake businesses that are trying to just stuff the money, and the businesses that want to stay around.
Well, I mean, that obviously, if you had mentioned, I mean, TagUp's been around since the late 90s, I believe you'd said 96 or 97. So yeah, I mean, that if it was just a transactional business for the owners or the founders or the current owners, something tells me they probably wouldn't be in business, and you and I wouldn't be having this conversation.
Right.
But because of, and that's where, I feel, one of the reasons why we even started this show is because we work with B2B businesses, and there is this shift of where like they think that AI can just take over everything. And no, it can't. It might be able to start a relationship. It can show intent signals. You can use it to research that person before you talk to them and build a more solid foundation as that relationship starts. But like we talked about in the pre-show, there's this pendulum swinging in the B2B world right now, where if right in the middle is 50% AI, 50% human relationship to get a deal to actually sign and close, what each business has to figure out is where is that pendulum going to stop for you? Are you going to be able to do 70% AI interactions, emails and texts and voice AI, but then 40% has to be that human interaction? Or is it a business, even earlier today, I shot a show that the lady, she's responsible for 22 billion in closed sales, and she goes and she helps businesses close $1 million deals. And she's like, when you're closing $1 million deal, there's 9 to 10 stakeholders and decision makers, and it has to be a very personal relationship. She's like, I don't see a world where a B2B business is able to close $1 million deal with even 50% AI. You might be able to get some touch points and some impressions and things like that. But, when you have 9 stakeholders, 10 stakeholders in $1 million+ multi-year contract, you need to have more like a 75% human interaction, credibility, trust building type of relationship, because they're not just signing with your company, they're signing with Jerry Covington, because I'm trusting that this guy is a stand-up guy and he says what he's going to do exactly what he says he's going to do. And if he can't, he's going to run through a freaking brick wall trying. And that has to be portrayed at some point, and AI just can't do that.
Yep, AI cannot do that stuff. And I'll say it like this: the AI is a tool today, and and we only have about this much of its usage.
That's for sure.
And so I see it as like I used to tell my kids when we were up and going, and they was getting money because of work they performed at home, because money doesn't grow on trees. It comes from hard work.
Not Minnesota. It doesn't happen. That doesn't happen in Minnesota.
It would freeze. It would freeze and blow in the wind or whatever. But it's because money doesn't grow on trees. Money comes from hard work. What you're doing is using money as a tool. So AI is a very advanced tool, and it has all these capabilities like a Swiss Army knife. You can do many things with it, depending on your sole intent on using it. So in order to communicate and close a deal, say you have this girl that you're interested in, and you want to close the deal on it. You're not going to take a pen and write it in 2025 and say, yeah, I'm going to write this, pin this letter to you, stick it in the mailbox and wait for
do you like me? Yes, circle yes or no.
Yes, yes or no. No, you're going to pick the phone up and be like, hey, girl, I've been thinking, you're going to say that. And then the final piece on that is at some point, if you're not catfishing, you got to go out and meet her. And if you are catfishing, then the proof is going to be when she sees you. But
yeah, you walk up and you're like, that your college yearbook photo? Because you don't look like that,
I thought you were 6'4". Here you are 4'6". Did you get the numbers mixed up?
Yeah, that's one thing. I mean, I'm actually 6'4", and that's one thing you can't fake is your height. That's funny.
Well, maybe if you're sitting down in the car or something.
Yeah, you can. You can say, oh, I gained some weight, I lost some weight since that last picture. But once you're about 18, you can't really lie about your height, right? It just is what it is. But
it is what it is. So, but more back to what you were saying is, I think that the more that is at risk, meaning the more dollars that are involved, a person wants to see you. They want to see the person that they're talking to, and it kind of goes back to the Japanese principle, where if I can trust you, we're going to do business. If I can pull you into my family and make you part of my family, then yeah, we're going to probably do business. If not, then we're not going to do business. There's no gray area. But there's a holding pattern. There's like, okay, let me see if I can vet you properly, and then we can do business. And that's something that, in my opinion, today, technology cannot successfully do that 100%. They can get some markers based on like personality tests that you can administer. You can get that information and use it to make a kind of informed decision, but it still doesn't tell you exactly what you're getting. And you really have to have a face-off with the person that you're dealing with. And to me, B2B, that's his bread and butter.
Yeah. So like to your analogy, while you're, if you're going after a professional sports team and that equipment manager, while you're in that holding pattern, AI can step in and, send some emails, send some messages, maybe even a voice AI that can help solidify relationship, increase the touch point. So you're constantly impressing, and so they can impress and reflect and keep you top of mind, but you can't just set it and forget it. There's, if you're going to send out like what I like to say is you follow up, like the AI or an email or a text message, it gives you something to follow up with. Send them something of value on a Monday. So now when you call them on Wednesday, it's not, hey, Jerry, what's going on? How's the weather? And be super. It's like, hey, Jerry, I sent you an email the other day on the cost of XYZ going up. So, or something happened with your organization or something happened within your space. I sent you an article on that. Would love to get your thoughts on it. Or, you're sending them something of value, and now you're following up with them on a specific thing. That thing of value that you sent them. Now it's a more meaningful, impactful conversation where it's not, you're not just sitting there. You're not just sitting there with your hand out, but it's like, hey, I want to add value. I want to make you better at your job and add value. So that way you want to work with me. And, I think that's extremely important, where while you're in that holding pattern, waiting to get invited in for the family dinner, there's ways to add value and expedite that process so you can come out of holding panel and, holding pattern and get to the dinner table.
Yeah. So like the most fallible thing about humans is our memory. And so if we don't remember to do something, and if the timing is off, then we missed that opportunity. Okay. Perfect example. If I'm out in like another town, and I see someone that I'm familiar with, I know the face, but I can't remember where I know him from. I have to do this. I elbow my wife and say, "Hey, who's that?" And she'll be like, "Oh, that's so and so, so and so, and their kid does this, and their husband works here." And I was like, "Thank you." And say, "Oh, hey, how are you?" And you shake hands and you talk and you have a little bit of small talk, chit chat, and then you move on with your life. And say, but if if AI does anything, it it closes in the gaps of the memory lapses that we have, so that you can say, "All right, I'm doing something here that is really immediate and important today. But those relationships that I formed like years ago, I want to keep them going. I want to keep them current. So I need to automate some things and say, hey, how you doing? But not make it so generic like you're saying. Make it very specific. Like, hey, Jason, I know your son is into lacrosse. Would you like a helmet from such and such, signed by all the players? Would you like that? Or would you like the championship game from the NDSU Bisons when they won, a couple of years ago? Would you like a football like that? Because we can facilitate that, and then not even be not even being in the middle, so that there's a bottleneck. So I have to touch something and do something. No, just facilitate that directly to whoever needs to get that message. Now you've cut yourself out of the conversation, but not out of the relationship, which is very important.
Yeah, and then to your point though, you might have cut yourself out of that conversation for that one particular, like maybe you're not directly benefiting from that conversation, but you added value to that person. So now again, you're top of mind. And most it's human nature to want to reciprocate. You do something for me, then assuming I'm a halfway decent human being, naturally it's like, I don't want stuff for free. I don't want people, if Jerry's going to do something for me, give me a referral, help me out in some way, then naturally I want to help him out. I might not be able to help him out today or tomorrow, but in a month from now, in a year from now, I'm talking to the head of my son's club lacrosse organization, or my kid gets into a good college to play lacrosse or something, and I happen to meet an equipment manager. It's just like, dude, I had this guy Jerry on my show like 12 months ago, phenomenal guy. If you're not using TagUp, like at least let me make the connection and see what he's about, where you just never know where that reciprocation can come from. But it's, that B2B world, like you said, it's just so many people go straight for the kind of the jugular and go for the close. And it's like, guys, it's a 3 to 6 month, a 12-month buy cycle. It's relationships. It's a lot harder to build trust when you're asking for somebody for, thousands of dollars a month on multi-year contracts. What I like to say is, my analogy is not, you're not selling a tube of toothpaste or a pair of tennis shoes that somebody can make a quick decision. And if it's a bad decision, it's like, okay, I don't like this toothpaste. I only wasted $3 or $4. Let's just go back and get another one, right? That doesn't work like that in B2B sales. You make a mistake and all of a sudden you're like 60 days into a 12-month contract and you've made a mistake. You can literally lose your job over stuff like that. There's so much hanging on those decisions that you have to take that into account and understand the other perspective of the person making that decision and put yourself in their shoes. Like, hey, if my job was on the line, did I give them enough information to make them comfortable knowing that they might get fired if I screw up, if I mess up this relationship or make them look bad? And I think that's one of the most important things in B2B is the person making the decision is, am I going to look bad? Am I going to have egg on my face after this decision to my superiors? And that's that value that you have to put into the relationship and the time and effort you have to put into that relationship. And that's where I think a lot of people miss the boat. They just go straight for the close. And it's just like, dude, you're like 3 months away from a close. Like back up a little bit.
And the thing about it is this just my own personal philosophy, I guess. You always have to go into every single selling or buying situation that the door is open. Meaning, at any given time, either party can leave, and you make that clear when you start selling things. Say, hey, you don't have to buy this product. Matter of fact, you can mention your other competitors by name, just so they understand, like, the confidence in your own. I mean, that has worked sometimes, and sometimes it's just made them go try them, and then they'll say, well, yeah, you're right. But that's what you want. You want them to feel like they have choices, not that they have to be locked into you. But when they are coming to you, you're presenting the best quality, you're presenting the best like customer service pieces that people like and it matters to them, and you fix the things that go wrong like very quickly. So, and if you can establish those types of things with people, yeah, they're going to do business with you. Okay, so then the other side of that is what I was talking about with not having people come to Jerry. I know I say people's names because I like the people that I work with, and they just happen to be like all these folks that are in the industry. But I would rather someone say, "Hey, I want to go and do business with TagUp," not just because Jerry works there, but because TagUp has presented itself as a one solid front as a customer service piece and as a good business that is reliable and trustworthy. But just the fact that I work there should drive home that message, or should say this is the culture and this is the person that we're getting. So if I talk to any other person in TagUp, I'm going to get the same thing that Jerry's showing me, and that right there, that's a value you can't buy. You
Yeah,
cannot
well,
buy
I mean, that's obviously a testament to leadership at your organization. If that's the type of culture that, I mean, for somebody like yourself to work there and want to work there and have that type of, high standards and values, then yeah, exactly to your point, then, it's obviously a testament to leadership and the culture that has been built there. Because if that's the way you look at things and you've been there and you've been there for many years, and I mean, you talk about TagUp like it's your own company, which is, as a business owner, that's exactly what you want is, individuals like yourself that take ownership, represent the company just like it's your own. But yeah, that's a very good point. And that all circles back to trust and credibility. And, it's not just about Jerry telling me what I want to hear to get the sale, but now it's Jerry now has multiple Jerrys behind him working their butt off to fulfill on those promises and make sure that everything's in line.
Right. And then like the last piece that I always remind myself of is that when you have people that are working for you, working on your team with you, things like that. I just had a conversation with just one of our employees. What matters to me, is that you work for the company, not for Jerry. You work for the company, for the good of the company, wherever it's going. Yes, at any given time you can leave or you can quit. Things can happen, but if you leave here and you're the same person you were when you got here, I haven't done my job. Because I want you to not only learn something and be progressive and move forward and grow, but also when you go to another company, I want them to have the ability to say, why did they ever get rid of you? You're such a great employee. Because that's a testament to what we're training people to understand. It's not just about TagUp; it's about life. Period. The whole thing has to be taken into perspective when you have these people in your hands, and you want them to be a part of your family in some respect. That's what you're grafting them into your family. So when you push them out into the world, whenever they decide to leave, they have to be better than where they were before they came to you. They have to be. Otherwise,
Yeah.
why do they stop off at your spot?
Yeah. When an employee, customer, yes, you want people, whether it's an employee or customer or anybody interacting with your company, you want them to walk out the door better than they walked in, whether it's an actual tangible value, whether it's, one way or another, how do you add value to everybody that touches your business? And again, it sounds like it's a great culture there at TagUp.
Yeah, we're getting there, and we have our problems just like any other company. We have our great times just like any other company, and we have our challenges. But we just take them one day at a time and just try to work it out best we can.
Amazing. Honestly, I just looked up. We're already at almost 40 minutes. So this has been a really good show. This has been an enjoyable conversation for sure. I think a lot of value has been added to the audience in terms of B2B relationship building. Plus it's just, cool. You get to go work with NFL and major league teams and all kinds of, sports teams. And it sounds like a phenomenal place. As we sign off here, any other closing remarks or anything that we forgot to mention?
Nothing except for, what, just talk about Jeffrey Hinton, the godfather of AI, and his concerns with, people being replaced by AI. And I understand, understand most of that, not all of it, because how can you understand all of that as AI? But I think where we are right now, just talks about where we need to expand our understanding of what we can do. But to stay ahead of the game, you have to work with people that are kind and clever. And I think Po Shan Ho said that in one of his many podcasts that he has. He was talking about working with people that are kind and that are very clever, so that you can maintain the integrity of what should be used for. And it is a humanity tool. So let's use it as it should be. And once we get beyond that, then we get into the danger zone, I think. But that's
Yeah.
another show.
I agree. I agree. So yeah, we'll have to reconnect in a few months, whether 3 or 6 months down. We'll obviously stay in touch, and then 3 or 6 months down the road, we'll have you back on the show. And kind of, I've been saying this with a portion of the guests that I think would have a cool kind of follow-up episode 3 to 6 months down the road. So we can kind of follow along the story. Where were you at now with using AI, and then 6 months from now, where have you been able to implement it, and kind of touch and base with businesses every couple months and kind of follow them along their, AI, growth plans and things of that nature. So appreciate you being here. Appreciate everybody listening. Don't forget to like or subscribe. Jump over to TagUp and learn more about that wonderful business. Reach out to Jerry on LinkedIn. You can connect with him there. And we appreciate your time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for another episode in a couple of days from now. Take care, everybody.